Welcome to the Delighted Customers Podcast. I am so glad you're here. We challenge conventional thinking about customer experience because I believe that improving experiences isn't just good for business, it's a powerful way to make a meaningful difference in people's lives. Each week, we feature thought-provoking conversations with industry thought leaders from a variety of backgrounds, offering unique perspectives and actionable insights. Get ready to sharpen your leadership and transform your approach to customer experience. Let's dive in. This podcast episode is going to be a very different kind of episode, one that's truly unique. I recently stumbled upon a fascinating tool that completely redefines how to share content. Using material from my Trusted Guide Roadmap Masterclass, this tool took my resource and, like magic, transformed it into a lively conversational episode hosted by two virtual personalities. Yes, you heard that right. Two virtual hosts talking through the course content in a way that feels natural and authentic. I'll admit, I was a skeptic. Surely it would sound robotic and lifeless and just plain weird. But to my surprise, it turned out to be an incredibly realistic and genuinely engaging episode. In just 11 minutes or so, you'll get a sneak peek into the masterclass, into one particular area we call Becoming a Trusted Guide that is covered in the course. Now, of course, nothing replaces the full experience of attending the live class that's complete with tools, templates, calculators, and interactive feedback from me and the other CX pros. But people have been asking me for a long time about how I can share a sampling of the course, and this is an exciting new way to share what the class is all about in a bite-sized, digestible format. I'd love to hear what you think, so feel free to drop me a comment or email with your thoughts. Now, without further ado, let's dive into this creative experiment together. I hope you'll enjoy listening as much as I enjoyed creating it.
You've tuned into the deep dive, and today we're tackling something I think many of you listening know all too well. It's that feeling when your perfectly logical, well-planned CX strategy just stalls. Why does that happen?
It's a really common frustration, isn't it? You've got the data, the plan seems solid, but things just don't move forward.
Exactly. And we've been digging into some fantastic material to figure this out, specifically from the Becoming the Trusted Guide, Empowering CX Leadership course. It was developed by Mark Slayton.
Mark Slayton. Yeah, he's got some great insights. His work often highlights how it's less about the what and more about the how of leadership, you know?
Totally. And to kick things off, Mark actually shared a really candid story about one of his own, let's call it a learning experience. It perfectly illustrates this whole problem.
Oh, a personal failure story. Those are always the most revealing.
Right. So years ago, Mark and his team put together this customer experience index. They thought it was like bulletproof. The data was all aligned. The CFO loved it. Even the C-suite gave it a conceptual thumbs up. Seemed like a slam dunk.
Okay, it sounds like they ticked all the boxes. What went wrong?
Well, they presented it to the senior leaders, and one leader from a really key business line just pushed back. Hard.
Oh, not on the data itself.
No, not really. His issue was that the index included factors his team couldn't directly control. He was worried, basically, that his performance would look bad because of stuff happening elsewhere.
The classic not in my control argument. That definitely throws a wrench in things. It becomes personal, political, right?
Exactly. And this is where Mark admits he messed up. He just assumed that the logic, the sheer brilliance of the index would win everyone over eventually. He figured that leader would come around.
Uh-oh. So he didn't really address that specific concern head on?
Nope. He heard the resistance, but kind of thought, well, we have C-suite approval, let's just push forward. He didn't get that specific leader's real buy-in, not the enthusiastic kind you need.
And the result? Let me guess. It didn't go smoothly.
Not even close. That one misstep. It basically put the whole CX Index initiative on ice for 3 years.
Wow. 3 years. Just because of that one stakeholder.
3 years. It took that long to rebuild trust, get alignment, and finally get the index properly implemented. It's such a stark lesson, isn't it? Being right isn't enough. You got to bring people with you.
Absolutely. That's a huge delay and a massive cost, really, in lost momentum and opportunity. It shows how critical that stakeholder piece is.
Precisely. And it's that kind of stress, that frustration, that led Mark to create this whole Becoming the Trusted Guide course. He realized the goal isn't to be the CX superhero. It's about guiding, earning trust, empowering others.
Makes sense. And Mark really knows his stuff, right? He's not just guessing here.
Oh, definitely not. I mean, he's a really credentialed CX thought leader, teaches this stuff at the university level, hosts his own podcast. He lives and breathes customer experience, both theory and practice.
That combination of academic background and real-world battle scars is pretty powerful.
It really is. So what we're zeroing in on today is this concept he calls the hero's trap. It's right from Module 1 of his course. The whole course itself, by the way, is built on his bigger Trusted Guide Roadmap Masterclass, which is designed to really fundamentally shift how CX leaders operate.
The hero's trap, I like that term.
Yeah.
It implies that trying too hard to be the solution can actually backfire.
Exactly. Think about, you know that movie, The King's Speech?
Yeah, great film. Colin Firth, Jeffrey Rush.
Right. King George VI had all the authority, but he couldn't lead effectively because he couldn't communicate, right? He needed Lionel Logue, his guide, to help him find his voice. Lionel didn't take over. He empowered the king.
Ah, okay. So the CX leader needs to be Lionel, not the king, empowering the stakeholder.
You got it. So our mission for this deep dive is basically understand this hero trap, see how it messes things up, and start exploring how shifting to that guide mentality makes CX leadership way more effective.
Okay, sounds like a solid plan. What specifically are we pulling from that first module today?
We're looking at identifying what the hero trap actually looks like, starting to think about the mindset shift to being a guide, why uncovering stakeholder goals is so crucial, and we'll touch briefly on something called the 3 levels model.
Got it. A focused look at the foundations.
Yep. And just for context, the full course goes deeper, obviously. After understanding the trap, it covers shifting the mindset, then gives a 3-step framework for building trust, and finally, how to put that framework into action.
A logical progression from awareness to application.
Totally. There's even a companion trusted guidebook resource for the course, which sounds pretty handy for actually, doing this stuff back at the office.
Practical tools are always good. Helps bridge the gap between learning and doing.
For sure. And hey, if you complete the full course, you get a digital certificate and badge, a nice little recognition.
Always good for the LinkedIn profile, right?
Exactly. Now, if this tastes what's your appetite, Mark's full Trusted Guide Roadmap Masterclass is the main event. It's live, interactive, really aimed at CX leaders who want to make a serious impact. This deep dive is just a slice.
So the masterclass covers more ground.
Yeah, it's built around 4 big modules: earn trust, become a guide, which is where our focus today comes from, build a roadmap, and prove the value. So we're really just looking at a piece of the become a guide part.
Okay, so back to module 1 of the course. The hero's trap, why efforts stall. We're digging into why CX leaders sometimes unintentionally sabotage themselves.
That's the core of it, exploring those common ways we step into the hero role, often with the best intentions, and why that leads to stalled projects, frustration, and then setting the stage for a better approach, the guide approach.
Understanding the problem is the first step to fixing it, right?
Couldn't agree more.
CX professionals know that every touch point matters, but managing the entire customer journey can be challenging, especially for enterprises due to disjointed data, difficulty aligning stakeholders, and struggling to secure executive support. That's where JourneyTrack comes in. JourneyTrack integrates journey mapping, management, and measurement, allowing you to pinpoint friction, optimize experiences, and demonstrate the ROI of CX initiatives. So you can align teams, break down silos, and then you can track improvements in real time. With JourneyTrack, you get visibility across every channel and touch point. No more guesswork, just clear insights and measurable results. Join the CX leaders who transform journeys into improved experiences with impactful business outcomes like reduced churn and increased customer lifetime value. Visit journeytrack.io today and see how better journeys lead to better business.
We'll look at the characteristics. What does being a hero actually involve day to day? How does it limit stakeholder engagement, hurt project success? And why a new approach is essential for any kind of lasting CX transformation.
It's moving from solo effort to collective responsibility.
Exactly. And in the full module, Mark includes a self-assessment question, which sounds really useful, makes you think about your own tendencies towards playing the hero. That self-awareness piece is key.
Mm-hmm. Gotta look in the mirror sometimes.
Definitely. And check this out. There's a statistic from McKinsey that's pretty sobering. They found 70%, 70, of change programs fail.
Wow, 70%. That's huge.
It is. And the top reasons: employee resistance and lack of management support. It's just, stakeholder issues, right? Understanding this hero trap is about not becoming part of that 70%.
That really puts the pressure on getting the leadership approach right.
Absolutely. And think back to Mark's story again, pushing ahead without that leader's buy-in. That directly created resistance and killed momentum. It's a perfect example of the risk of that hero mentality, thinking your logic is enough.
Yeah, logic doesn't automatically create trust or enthusiasm.
So true. Okay, let's talk about some of those specific hero behaviors that trip us up. One big one is feeling like you have to be the smartest person in the room, always have the answer.
Right, the know-it-all syndrome. That can shut people down fast.
It really can. It makes stakeholders feel like their input isn't needed or valued. Another one is using all that CX jargon, the acronyms, the fancy terms.
Oh, yeah. We get so used to it, we forget. Others have no idea what we're talking about. It can be really alienating.
Totally. It creates barriers instead of bridges. And the third big one is pushing data without getting buy-in first. You might have amazing insights, but if people don't feel involved or see how it connects to their world,
They just tune it out or resist it.
yeah,
The data needs context and connection.
exactly. So what happens when we fall into this trap? Well, the most obvious thing is initiatives just stall. They get stuck. No buy-in, no momentum.
Like running in mud.
Mm.
Lots of effort, no progress.
Perfect analogy. Another consequence: you, the CX leader, might start getting left out of important meetings. That's a huge red flag, right? Means you're not seen as a key strategic partner.
Yeah, being excluded is a bad sign. Means trust is low.
And personally, it's just frustrating. You feel isolated, like you're banging your head against a wall, carrying the CX burden all alone.
Definitely leads to burnout. It's not sustainable.
And the biggest consequence: the customer experience doesn't actually get better. All that effort and no real impact where it matters most, which then hurts the business, lower satisfaction, lost revenue, missed opportunities.
The ripple effects are significant. It impacts the bottom line.
It really does. So let's quickly contrast the two approaches. You've got the superhero-style, hero-led projects, relying on the leader's individual brilliance, leads to isolation, resistance.
A lone wolf approach.
Right. Versus trust-led projects. These
Yeah.
are built on shared ownership, real collaboration, stakeholder alignment. Here, the CX leader is the trusted guide, not the superhero.
Much more sustainable, much more likely to succeed. It's about partnership.
Exactly. And this ties into something from Donald Miller's book, Building a Story Brand. He says when a brand or a leader tries to be the hero, the customer or stakeholder stays distant. They might even see you as competition.
Interesting point. If you're the hero, what role is left for them?
Right. But Miller says the guide is the one who empowers the hero, gives them the plan, the tools, the clarity they need to succeed. And that is the shift we're talking about, from CX leader as hero to CX leader as guide.
Empowering stakeholders to be the heroes of their part of the CX story, with you as their advisor.
Beautifully put. So wrapping up this first look, we've touched on why efforts stall that hero trap, the absolute need for stakeholder buy-in, and the beginnings of this shift to a guide mindset, all drawn from Module 1 of Mark's course.
It's a critical foundation to build upon.
Definitely. And again, this is just a taste, the full Becoming the Trusted Guide course, and especially that Trusted Guide Roadmap Masterclass with the networking, tools, roadmaps, that's really essential for leaders serious about making a difference. We've just scratched the surface.
Good context.
Yeah.
It sets the stage for deeper learning.
It does. So here's a final thought for everyone listening. As you go about your week, just reflect a bit. Notice your own tendencies. Do you sometimes slip into that hero mode, feeling like you need all the answers, have to drive everything? And then ask yourself, what might change if you consciously shifted even just a little towards being more of a guide? How might that impact your stakeholder relationships, collaboration, and ultimately your CX results? Something powerful to chew on.
A great reflective question to end on. Food for thought indeed.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Delighted Customers podcast. It would mean so much if you would take a moment to subscribe. You can go to Apple, Spotify, Amazon Music, or wherever you listen to podcasts, click on the plus sign or follow button, and that will ensure that you don't miss an episode, and it helps get the word out to others. While you're there, I'd love it if you'd leave a 5-star review. I look forward to seeing you back here next Thursday.